This week on the Rockman Power Hour, we're going to be talking to a new artist whose name you are going to hear more and more of if you like heavy, metal, rap, power pop, punk, post-punk, and dirty lyrics. Scene Queen is joining us this week on the Rockman Power Hour. Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour podcast, where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture and everything else in between. And this week on the show, we're joined by Scene Queen. And I think you're going to really dig this chat. A relatively new artist who gained a lot of popularity on the internet and has a really interesting take on music. I love finding out all of her influences, and I love also getting to know her a little bit and getting to know some of the meanings behind some of these songs, which at first glance can be easily dismissed as, oh man, that's just trash, but it's not. It's totally awesome music that has a lot of hidden meanings in there. And it's all dressed up in a way that if you are a fan of new metal and if you're a fan of raunchy lyrics, you're going to absolutely love this band. But before I go any further, let's bring on my co-host and producer, Ryan Stick. Ryan, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I like this interview a lot. I think everyone else will. And sometimes what I like about this show is that, you have all these rock legends and icons and people who have been doing it forever. But there's so much about like somebody who's coming up and things are so new and exciting, and they're exciting is infectious. You just want to get right on it. And as you guys were doing this interview, I was looking up her music, and her vocal delivery is so interesting. It's almost got like I don't want to say a Dead Kennedy's way of, but there's a sarcasm in the delivery that I could really appreciate. Yeah,
definitely. I really enjoyed it, and I gotta say, I think we're going to be hearing a lot more from Hannah Collins, whose artist name is Scene Queen. She's very talented. She's originally from upstate New York. She spent a lot of time in Cleveland. We'll get to that when we talk to her. And just what she grew up on music-wise is such a mix of so many different styles. And it's apparent that all led to the recipe for this Scene Queen cake that we're all taking a big bite out of now. Before we go too far too, Ryan, we got to thank our friends at Heartbeat Hot Sauce. They are literally the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. And thanks to them, we're able to keep the lights on every week. Ryan, I think we should play our commercial, our infomercial that we have.
Yeah, we have a few videos, but we're going to play for the very first time ever another one. This is a very serious, like on Rockman Power Hour. Yeah, we fart a lot, we joke, but every now and then we got to get really serious, and this is what we're going to do right now.
Hi, I'm Jason Rockman, and I'm here to talk to you about a really serious matter: hot sauce. There's nothing worse than trying a horrible hot sauce. And let's be honest, we've all tried some pretty bad ones. There's people all around the world that are suffering in silence, thinking that the hot sauce they have is the best that they're going to get. But I've got some news for you. There's a solution, and there's an answer. And that answer is Heartbeat Hot Sauce. Heartbeat Hot Sauce is probably the best hot sauce that you'll ever try in your entire life. It's changing lives one bottle at a time. Make a pledge right now below and buy your first bottle of Heartbeat Hot Sauce. If you use our promo code ROCKMAN20, you too will be helping somebody out there that has no idea what hot sauce really truly can taste like. Enrich somebody's life today. This message is brought to you by the Rockman Power Hour.
I like how birds are singing in the background because they're so moved by your message.
I like how I was able to keep a deadpan straight face during that whole thing. It's crazy. There are people that watch that and they're like, "Are you telling me that you did that as an infomercial, kind of like as like a, help starving kids thing?" And I was like, "No, that wasn't at all the inspiration. It was just I wanted to be serious."
Yeah. But it is kind of funny because it's like it's not about the parroting of the starving kids one. It's
Yeah.
about all the charlatans and jerks who try to exploit other things while trying to capture that vibe. Like, I go to my GoFundMe because I don't want to work.
Pretty
It's
much. Yeah. Like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well,
it's kind of making fun of them.
use our promo code Rockman20 as you see there, as you saw there in the infomercial, or I should say in the public service announcement, and get your discount on Heartbeat hot sauce. Which honestly, you should be just buying it full price. You should be buying it when you see it.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful hot sauce made in Thunder Bay, Ontario, from a great group of people. And what I love about Heartbeat hot sauce is that you can taste the love in every bottle when you.
I thought they were gonna say you can taste the rainbow. I'm like, bro, I think that's Skittles.
No, you taste the rainbow, but you can taste the love in every bottle. I bounce around for my favorites. Obviously, the old school one that I love is the dill pickle serrano. And I grabbed this one to show you guys. So use our promo code Rockman20 as you saw in that public service announcement, and all your dreams will come true and you'll get a discount, and you can use that over and over and over again. Okay, Ryan.
Yeah.
I have to thank our friends at Studio House Designs. Thank you for this awesome X shirt. Just saw the latest installment in Ty West's trilogy, Maxine. It's concluding the trilogy of X, Pearl, and now Maxine. By the time this comes out, it will be in theaters. And I enjoyed the movie.
Don't say anything, man. I don't want you to give it away. Even if you're like, this movie rocks, I'm like, spoilers. If you're like, this movie sucks, I'm like, spoilers, man.
Well,
like,
this
movie has a giant flaming elephant in it that could fart gas and shoot lasers, and I'd be like, bro,
there's no spoilers.
That sounds cool.
There's no spoilers. There's all I'm going to tell you is I saw the movie, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is because Studio House Designs, I can predict probably to a certain amount of
certainty,
certainty that there will be a Maxine shirt to complete the trilogy of Ty West shirts that you've seen so far from Studio House Design. So check them out at studiohousedesigns.com. And thank you to our friends at Audio Technica for making us sound amazing. They're great. So Mike Marino and the gang at Audio Technica Canada, thank you so much for supporting us. And if you're starting out a podcast and you're looking for equipment, these headphones are industry standards. I absolutely love them. This microphone is incredible. This mic arm is great. And even the little mixer that I use that I don't show very often is phenomenal. So check out Audio Technica for, if you see me holding a microphone or doing an interview, I have an Audio Technica. That's all I use. So even when we're doing Comic-Con, any of that stuff, we're with Audio Technica. They are our audio sponsors, and that's all you're going to hear my voice through from now on. There you go.
That's some exclusive shit, man.
Right,
that's,
dude?
Yeah.
Super exclusive. All right. Speaking of exclusive, here is our chat with the up-and-coming Scene Queen. Want to welcome an artist who I've been following now for a little while. When she first came on my radar, I was immediately obsessed because it reminded me of probably an era of music that I came up in, especially as a performer, which I really, really miss. And it's been making a comeback, and I'm talking about new metal. I want to welcome Scene Queen, aka Hannah Collins, to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. What I love about this is that it's aggressive, it's unapologetic, it's empowering, but at the same time, it brings me back to the time when music wasn't so sanitary and everyone wasn't so afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Are you aware that you're emerging as an artist now that is going to probably rub a few people the wrong way, especially in the world we're living in now?
I think it's funny because I became an artist that's known for having these controversial hot takes, but any criticism I ever give within my music is the least controversial takes. I feel like it's don't assault women,
Right. I think it's just the delivery of it. For some,
I know
some people will find it offensive. And when I listen to it, it's exactly that. It's empowering. If anything, it's just like, if you're gonna mess with me, I'm gonna say something. And I think that's what people need more and more of is figures that can actually stand up for them and be able to, not be afraid to say something, maybe in a vulgar way because it cuts through a little bit deeper. But at the same time, there's a very, very positive message in there, but it's wrapped up in a delivery that
a lot of people will, especially my age, will remember when a lot of music was delivered that way, but that might not necessarily have had such a positive message. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is funny. Like, I think honestly, the way I approach music in general is I always try and deliver serious topics or whatever via the lens of humor. Because I feel like when you deliver things way too seriously, and especially with rock, I feel like rock music in general kind of has this tendency to like be super serious all of the time. And a lot of people have kind of, expressed the same things as me with songs like 18 plus and stuff, like have said on the internet, like, hey, don't be weird to, your female underage fans or whatever. But I
Right.
think like messages like that have been said so many times in so many different ways. And I think with rock music, like, because you anticipate it being so serious from the get-go, that when someone like delivers a really hard topic like sexual assault, because you anticipate that it's going to be so serious, you're like, that's okay, let's change the subject, I don't want to hear it. But if
Right.
you're doing it under the lens of humor, it kind of like softens the blow in a weird way. But
Yes.
it gets people to listen to the end of the song, so you're getting the entire message out because you're doing it in this like, silly sort of way that's like tongue in cheek, but at the end of the day it's not.
Yeah.
And also like with the new metal thing, I just love like, bands like Limp Bizkit where like it's so silly, but it also like knows that it's silly
Of course. Very,
lyrically. So
very tongue in cheek, and it's very aware of itself. It's,
yeah, definitely.
what's great, you mentioned Limp Bizkit, and what's great about seeing the way Limp Bizkit's developed as a band, that first wave of Limp Bizkit, Fred was, he's a prankster, but at the same time, he really had an image that was very serious to a lot of people. And a lot of people saw it very serious. And it's great to see the latest, the newer, older incarnation of Limp Bizkit, where Fred is really able to take the piss and, look at himself and go, hey, I'm going to fucking dress up like a different character every tour. I'm really going to poke fun at myself. And it's great to see, because Limp Bizkit, when you peel away all that, they were a great band and still are a great band. Live, probably one of the best live bands you'll ever see in terms of power, in terms of being tight and crowd response. So I love the fact that someone coming up is citing Limp Bizkit as a cool band, because there was a time when a lot of people didn't even want to like talk about new metal. And it's nice when you see a younger generation coming up and going like, hey, new metal was cool and it had a lot of power and it had a lot of energy, and it's great to see it come back, but with positive messages and with a different take on it.
And to be fair, like I think that whole little subgenre that I'm in, although it's like kind of a small world right now, is growing substantially. And it is all bands that are kind of influenced by bands like Limp Bizkit. I mean, even on this newest record I have coming out, like I have this collab with Wargasm, who has Fred Durst on their album and just did a bunch of touring with them. Like,
right.
We are in a way all kind of influenced by that era of new metal. But for me specifically, I also try and combine that with the like 2000s and 2010s, like Warped Toury post-hardcore scene stuff.
Sure.
And then all the Y2K pop influences. Because I love that, it's funny. I think fans of the genre, for some reason, like the very elitist ones, get so upset about the idea of you bringing in like the sort of Y2K trash pop, whatever. But if you ask any like metal musician what their guilty pleasure is, like could be the like longest beard having dude in the entire world in a metal band, the most serious metal band, he's going to say Britney Spears. Like they always do it.
Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, all that era of music when stuff was super poppy, super catchy. Even older guys will say, like, I remember when I started out in, like, my band started in 92. And we were riding, I guess we rode like the second wave of new metal, in like 99, 2000. But I remember our guilty pleasure at the time were the Spice Girls,
Yes.
And it's just good music. And what's great about nowadays is I find more and more people don't really care what genre they're in. There's a lot of genre melding, and new genres come out of it. And it's a beautiful thing to see with music.
Yeah, I definitely think like, for me personally, I never listened to one style anyway, like just, as a music fan. So it was hard for me to kind of pick a genre in general. But I also just think that like every single style of music has a place and time in your life. It's like, it's why the question of what your favorite artist is kind of impossible to answer, or at least for me specifically, because I'm like, well, I'm never in a mood like my entire life to listen to one artist, because I'm not like sad all the time. I'm not happy all the time. I don't want to party all the time. And
Right.
I try and make my music something you can listen to at all times in your life, because like whether you're sad and need a laugh, or you're happy and want to continue laughing, the like humor aspect of it kind of works at all times in your life. Because I am like one of those people that I have like a very dark sense of humor, and like my coping mechanism is laughter. So like on my worst days, I need like the most ridiculous thing. In the same way that like, you know, you binge watch The Office when you're sad because you're like, well, it makes me feel better, even though it's ridiculous and has like no actual relation to what's going on right now, you know?
Yeah. I worked in radio for about 14 years. And I got let go last June. And I remember my go-to to get through that hump was going back and watching Eastbound and Down.
Yeah.
That was what I need. I mean, I needed Kenny Powers in my life to be there to say all the things I couldn't say, because he's like the anti-hero, you know? So I totally understand, like something like The Office or a show like that will put you in a happy place. Where did you grow up? Tell me a bit about your formative years and where you came up.
So I lived like from birth until I was like, you know, 10 in upstate New York.
Okay.
So that's where I had my first exposure to like the sort of emo world, because I have an older sister that's like 9 years older than me. So she was a high schooler at the time and very into the early like My Chemical Romance, that sort of stuff era, all the things coming out of like New York and New Jersey. She was like one of the first people to know about it. But ironically, she was exactly like me, where she was into like emo music, but she worked at like an American Eagle and wore only pink polo shirts. So she would go to these shows and she would be the only like person that looked like that at them. Got me into that sort of wave of things like Good Charlotte and All American Rejects and like pop punk stuff, as well as like, you know, some like Hawthorne Heights, that sort of thing. And I'd be like 9 years old in her like little Pontiac Sunfire with crank windows, like screaming the lyrics to like God knows what, like just the most feral emo songs that I probably shouldn't have been listening to. And then eventually moved back to where my parents are from in Cleveland. And that's where I went to like middle school and high school, which is where I started to develop my own taste in music, which ended up being the kind of like, you know, Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens, Bring Me the Horizon, that sort of wave of like post-hardcore. And then like kind of found the new metal stuff at that same time, but like wasn't going to those shows because I was like, I'm 15. No one at those shows is 15, so I'm not going to go to those. But everyone is 15 at this like Sleeping with Sirens show, so I'm going to go to those. And being from Cleveland, like there is a huge alternative scene out there, but also I'm from a really small town in Cleveland, so there's like there was no way for me to meet alternative people really, other than going to these shows.
Sure.
So any birthday present, any job I worked, like all of the money from all of these things were going directly into just me going to shows every single weekend. And then thankfully being in Cleveland, you know, you get to go to like Detroit is an hour or like 2 hours away. And then Pittsburgh's an hour away. And like Columbus is 2 hours away. So there's like 500 places you could go to a show, which I learned very quickly from touring is not normal if you're not from the Midwest. But if you're from the Midwest, you like travel 3 hours minimum to any show. You're just like,
yeah.
It's like totally normal. But in LA, like no one will go to an Anaheim show, which is a 40-minute drive. Like it's so weird.
Yeah.
But so I'd go to all these shows and I would do like 4 Warped Tour dates that I would go to, and like really just got involved like with the alternative scene that way, like was in street teams and stuff. And then I moved out to LA when I was 18, and that's kind of when I left the alternative genre for a little bit, because you know, you turn 18 and then you realize like some of the stuff I experienced in the scene was not like appropriate at all for when I was underage. Like that doesn't seem like a very safe space.
Right.
So I left the scene and started writing in like the pop and hip hop world. And then fast forward to the pandemic, I was already trying to like come back into rock, but I missed those sort of pop and hip hop hooks that I'd been writing. So I combined everything and then became scene queen.
And it's a great recipe because it slams. I'm also someone who absolutely adores hip hop, came up in, you know, with early 80s hip hop. And I'm very very fussy with my hip hop. And but at the same time, that's what I loved about new metal was the mix of hip hop and metal and how it was just such a smooth, beautiful mix. And it was so powerful. You can spit. What did you, who are your favorite MCs?
So in no particular order. I really like Meek Mill. That's like
Okay.
one of my all-time favorite. I love Meek Mill, and I get so excited to play in Philadelphia because I'm like, this will be the time that I can talk about Meek Mill. But my fan base is just so emo that
Yeah.
never. I'm like, this is the one place I would think that would hit, and it still doesn't. So maybe one day I'll get a bunch of Meek Mill fans at a show, but it's yet to happen. Um, but then I was super into, so when I was in college, I actually went to a music school for a little bit and then dropped out.
Right.
But I was taking this like, hip hop history class. And I had this like kind of mentor sort of person. He was on the Netflix show Rhythm and Flow when that was like a thing.
Okay.
He goes by the artist name Old Man Saxon, but he like put me on to all of these old school rappers, and immediately like Nas became one of my favorite. Like I was just so into anything Nas was doing. And then I listened to a lot of Queen Latifah in college.
Yeah.
Because I was like, old Queen Latifah, she raps so aggressively and
Sure.
like her stuff is just incredible. So I was super into like the old school rap stuff, but then also like at the same time was listening to like newer trap stuff like Roddy Ricch and stuff, as you do, because that was like what was huge in the college world, like YG and that sort of thing was like the frat house radio mix of my era in college. So that was like also what I was listening to. And yeah, I don't know. I think like the rap into trap world kind of like majorly influenced my style. And then just having like a mentor that was like, yeah, your rap voice is actually cool. You should like dive into that.
Yeah.
Inspired me to just like straight up rap for a period of time. And I would go to these like I haven't even talked about this ever in like any sort of interview, but I used to go to these like freestyle like
Rap battle?
jams. Yeah, not like rap battles, but it'd be like a live band jam, and I would just like rap over the top.
Oh, yeah, kind of. Yeah, just like yeah, definitely. Like almost like freeform jazz, but with hip hop. Yeah.
Yeah, but it like would be for all artists. So it'd be like R&B, but then I would show up and they'd think I was gonna do like R&B because I'd literally like have my purse on when I walked up there, and there's a couple videos of it. I just like didn't process that was unusual, and I would just like be freestyle rapping. But I haven't done it in like a minute as far as freestyling, so I'm probably not that good at it anymore. But I try like, with the song Whips and Chains, I realized like we were halfway through writing this record, and I was like, we just haven't had any like straight hip hop moments. So then we kind of had this. I was listening to a lot of like Megan Thee Stallion, and so was my producer. So at the time we were like, what if we just do like a piano beat, because she's so sick and she's doing a lot of those right now. So we just kind of threw that down, and then yeah, Whips and Chains happened.
Well, I don't think you should ever stop rapping because you're really, really good. And
thank you.
It's funny because I remember, Nicki Minaj has become such a household name now, and she's known for so many different things. But I remember first hearing her on Kanye's Monster, and that verse that she did. I mean, it was still one of the best intro verses that I've ever heard an artist do. So I got kind of that vibe when I first heard you. I was like, she's good. So don't stop doing the hip hop thing is great. And
thank you.
Formula wise, I gotta say, I'm really digging what you're doing. I hope you continue doing it, and I want to see this project live. So can you give me a bit of an insight of what touring's looking like for you? Because I know the record's like it's just coming out, or it's out now, but by the time we hear this, it'll have been out. But tell me where your touring plans are, what the live experience is like for Scene Queen. Is it because when you listen to the record, there's a lot of heavy parts. Is there a full band? What should people expect?
So I play as a 3-piece because obviously like we have a lot of sub bass in my songs, so I don't use like an actual bassist. I'd rather have those like sort of trap basses and stuff. Yeah. But I have a drummer who's so insanely tight. Like every time I play a show, every other drummer like comes up to me and they're like, your drummer is crazy. And I'm like, I know, and I will never let him go, so don't ask. But so I have like my drummer Jonathan, and then I have my friend Daniel on guitar, and then he does like he'll do low screams because I double up, like I do high girly screams and then like low ones on my record. So he'll do the low ones for me and I'll do the high ones. And like layered, it makes it sound so much heavier live because both of us are really loud screamers.
Yeah.
And then he's like doubling up, you know, like we'll have like some guitar in the track and then he's doubling up on like a 7-string guitar. So it's actually a lot heavier live, and we make the arrangements, like we extend all our breakdowns, like make them halftime, whatever. Like it goes so much heavier live,
Wow.
which I think surprises a lot of people. But then also, like in contrast with that, I like, you know, love dancing. It's like one of my favorite parts of performing. So the contrast of it being like so much heavier live versus like I do my little like pop star twerking dance moves on stage, people like never really expect that. And it is fun because like my entire band is like, you know, metal dudes, so they're just headbanging and then I'm like doing a full-on like pop star sort of dance thing on the side. And then I guess like I try really hard because obviously my subject matter, I try and write all those funny songs, so like I focus a lot on crowd like sort of participation and feedback. I'd say that my sets are probably like 80% me playing the songs but 20% stand up pretty much.
Yeah. Well,
It's just me doing a lot of yapping between songs, but I work really well off a crowd. And yeah, that'll be fun because so I have this tour coming up pretty much right after the record comes out, the summer school tour, which will be across the US. It's like a 4-way co-headline where like the 4 of us just kind of rotate what time we play each day, but they don't say what time each of us are playing until you show up at the festival or like at the tour, which is cool because it like actually emphasizes the importance of music discovery. So like, although I'm playing a headline set, if you've never heard of me before, you might have to watch me before your favorite band, or vice versa. You might discover your favorite band before me. Right. So I'm really stoked for that tour. A little less nervous though, because I'm like, they kind of know what to expect. All of the bands on that tour, we all kind of met via like either TikTok or something. Like we're very internet meme bands. And we've all been friends for like multiple years. One of the other bands on the tour, Honey Revenge, Devin, the lead singer of Honey Revenge, we went to college together. So I've been friends with her for like 8 years. And we've been like, she's seen the entire growth of all of that, like the rapping and all of that stuff. So like that's been in the works for forever, it feels like. So I'm really excited for that tour. And then after that tour, I'm going to do a little like Australian headline thing that may or may not have been announced yet, but that's where I'm going. And then I go back in the US as a support tour for Baby Metal, which is going to be insane.
Wow. That is going to be that is a great tour for you to get on. That is amazing.
Yes, but I'm a little nervous about that one because I'm like I said, my whole thing is the pop star performance. Obviously, they're like masters of that craft in the sense of like their choreo and their production and everything. But the humor aspect of it, I'm like, those fans have no idea what to expect as far as like my jokes and stuff. So we'll see if they love it or they're like, what are you talking about?
So I'm going to ask you this lastly, because I know we got to go, but you strike me as someone that when you talk to them, like the way we're talking, you're a different person when you get up on stage. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm definitely a lot more reserved in person, which sometimes, so when I meet my fans, I'm the same way. Like I have the weird sense of humor, obviously, like I have a strange brain or else I wouldn't write the stuff that I write. But I think being this higher, like elevated, hyperbolic version of myself all day long, when I'm not being scene queen, I'm just like so chill. And I think people get like nervous when they meet me if they've known my music first. Like if they're meeting me like out at a bar or something, they're like, are you mad at me? Because you're not like being weird. And I'm like, I'm just like dialed back weird right now. Like I can't exist that way all the time. I have to make friends, you know? Like
that's what happens is that, and I know for me, I had my persona on stage when I would get on stage would be very aggressive and be like, and I would be, you know, I would use humor and I'd be rude to get people's attention. And it was fun. But when I got off stage, people were like, you're so nice and quiet. And I'm like, well, yeah, you go up on stage. It's we're playing up there. It's fun. You know, we can't, like you said, I can't be like that all the time. I love the way you put it, because otherwise I'd have no fucking friends.
It's funny because like a lot of people have told me, they're like, yeah, before we went on a tour with you, I asked like this other person that's toured with you and they're like, what is she like? And they're always like, oh, she's quiet. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not actually. If you meet me off of tour, like I will talk your ear off. But like when I'm on tour, I'm the most boring person. Like I don't go out, I don't drink, I don't do anything. Like for that month, I am just like, I'm working, I'm here to work. So the day, like the moment I show up, I'm on vocal rest and I'm like eating the most boring like health foods all day long. And then day off, I'm eating only gas station foods all day long. But other than that, like I really like, I don't even venture out that much on tour just because I'm like, I have to be able to dial this up to like 110, and that takes a lot of energy.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to chat with us on the show. I'm really looking forward to people discovering this artist. I'm really looking forward to seeing this project live, because from everything you've told me, it's definitely piqued my interest, and it's something I think I need to see. And I love the music. So keep doing what you do. I think Scene Queen's something that we're going to be hearing a lot from, and keep kicking ass. And you've got a great attitude about it, because really for anyone coming up, you know, there's a lot to be said in this music. There's a lot that's being said in this music. And yeah, it's wrapped up in some aggressive stuff that you might dismiss as being like, you know, stupid kid rock music, but it's not. There's a lot more going on in your music than that. And I appreciate you for taking the time, and keep pushing the envelope, because we need more people like you.
Thank you so much. Well, it was wonderful talking to you, and thanks for having me on.
It's really cool, like how jazzed she is about like playing the concerts. I like the idea of the live band. I always thought that even when Prodigy would do shows, they would have a live drummer and a live guitar player, because there's just there's a real energy element that
fight to it, man.
Yeah, even if it's pre-programmed or electronic, it just, you know, it gives it teeth.
It's just great. And you know, when she was saying that there's enough bass in the drops and stuff that they don't need a bass player, like, listen, it's the reality of the way the world is going. There's a lot.
Oh, as a bassist, I was offended by how useless she's implying I am, but you know, if the shoe fits,
there's a lot to be said about people that run you know, electronic music, and they mix in acoustic music, and I like that. And just by listening to the music, I can tell you this is going to translate really well live. I'm sure her live show is fucking phenomenal. So
yeah,
I am definitely going to be checking out her live right now. When I'm checking her date, she's doing a lot of stuff in the US, but the minute we have a date in Canada, and I mean, all of our friends in the US, make sure you go follow her. You can find her at all, you know, social media everywhere, Scene Queen. But definitely go check her out live. 27 years old, dude, and into all the music that I loved when I was younger. So I love when I see people that, you know, this whole wave of new metal coming back and getting a new group of fans. It's just so much fun. It's just so much.
I got to say something about emo that's really funny, and it's about the perspectives. It's like, I just turned 40 a few months ago. So when emo was out, I was kind of like in my late teens, you know, and kind of over it, or just protecting punk that existed before it, because that's what people who grew up with loving parents and can't write good lyrics because they have nothing to complain about. They manifest, well, it's up to me to protect punk. But when emo came out, I just was like, oh, this lame crap for babies. And it's oddly similar to when A New Hope came out.
Yeah.
And the same people saw Return of the Jedi, and they're like, what the fuck is with all these Ewoks? But then the new crop of kids were like, fuck yeah, Ewoks, motherfucker. These guys are great. So that's how I've realized emo is Ewoks for people who are about like 10 years younger than me. And
it's a good analogy. It's a fair analogy.
Now, all the years later, it's kind of like how, you know, the actual dudes that live Detroit Rock City, they're like, man, fuck disco. I can't believe Kiss made a disco song. Now, all these years later, Kiss are finishing up, and people of all walks of life, of all ages, they're all singing I Was Made for Loving You like it's the second coming of Christ, man.
Love that song. I love that record. You know, that was I think my first point of entry to Kiss was Dynasty, because that was you know, it came out when I was, you know, of a certain age, where I was like, okay, this is what's happening. This is and man, I love this, you know. All right, so listen, I want to just give somebody a shout out right now, because I have a friend of mine who works for JoeBlow.com. I love Joe Blow. We're big fans of Joe Blow, both you and I on the show. Burge and his whole crew were OGs when it came to putting out movie content and entertainment content online. And my friend Chris Bumbury, who has been a friend of mine for probably about 14, 15 years, went and did a press junket for the new Beverly Hills Cop show movie that's coming called Axel F on Netflix. And when he was there, he picked something up for me. And the reason why he picked it up for me is because the last time he was in Los Angeles on a press junket, he posted a photo of his coffee mug that he got at Quentin Tarantino's coffee shop in LA called Pam's Coffee. And I saw him the other morning and he brought me this coffee cup. So I just wanted to give him a shout out and show this coffee cup off. So
Ooh.
Pam Grier's Pam's Coffee, play on words with the coffee character that she played in those blaxploitation films. And this is what I thought was so clever. A cup by Quentin Tarantino. Like he always says in his credits, a film by Quentin Tarantino. So thank you to my friend Chris for hooking me up with that. I really appreciate you, bro, for thinking of me and dragging that all the way back from Los Angeles. It was really nice.
It's something to it's not just one thing to get someone a present. It's another thing to get it on a plane.
Yes, and bringing that back and not breaking it. So, thank you for that. It was really kind of you. So thank you. Just give him a big shout out. Ryan, that's it. We're done. Until next week. We are in the thick of summer. Just want to let people know, depending on when this is being released, you will be seeing a lot of coverage from Fantasia because you and I are going back to Fantasia 2024. They are announcing a ton of shit that's happening. So Fantasia Film Festival, you'll see us a lot throughout the summer at live events. We're going to be doing more in-person interviews. We're going to be getting out on the field a bit more because it is summertime and it is the time to get out there. So thank you. And if you see us anywhere, say hi. Let us know how you're enjoying the podcast. We appreciate all you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends all about the Rockman Power Hour because without you, there is definitely no us. A big thank you to Studio House Designs for making us look fresh. A big shout out to Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. And if you use our promo code Rockman20, get 20% off your entire order, and you can use that over and over and over again. And thank you to our friends at Audio Technica Canada, our friends Mike Marino and the gang over at Audio Technica for all this incredible equipment that helps us sound wonderful. My thanks to my co-host Ryan Stick. My thanks to our producer Julia Kajerski, and thanks to all of you. We'll see you next time on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate your support. And if you're enjoying the podcast, click this link right over here to watch the next episode and click right over here and subscribe. And that way you won't miss anything.